what is Nkunku? Where's his best position? Who is this player? He's a 10 for me. I don't think he can play out on the left. That's fine. He can be a body out there for 15, 20 minutes. He ain't a number 9. Two totally different strikers. Quaker made the point there. Two totally different attacks. Two totally different setups. Two totally different links with either it be the wide men or whether it be Palmer, whoever's playing in that number 10 more often than not than Palmer. And I feel for Nkunku because he's caught between two positions. He's not a number 9 and he can't play 10. So where's his best role? Jackson, the whole role of that number 9 up top has been left down to Jackson this season. And Nkunku doesn't do that job. When he is given the chance, Newcastle away in the Carabao Cup, we were disappointing, so was he. Ipswich away, second half, disappointing, gets taken off. And I think he will probably have to think about his future at the club because there is no role for him in the system. Maresca has no place for him. He's using him because he feels he has to at the moment. And that's why he didn't come off the bench, because Guiu, whatever you think of Guiu's age, and I've seen a lot of him in the Conference League, we all have, there's something in this kid. He works hard, he's quick, he gets his goals. He missed a couple away earlier in the Conference League, but that's fine. Then he makes up for it, gets himself a hat-trick. The reason he's come on instead of Nkunku is because he feels that role, it's a better fit for Jackson. Nkunku's not that player, I'm afraid.
Take your mind back to a year ago when Nkunku was injured, and absence makes the heart grow fonder. And we were all waiting for him to come back because we thought he was going to be the goal-getter, the man that's the missing piece in this Chelsea system to help us get to where we need to get to. But I think he suffers from the fact that his best position is the position that our best player plays in. Cole Palmer is in that position. And I know that the board get a lot of credit for the signings that they made, and Cole Palmer was an astute signing. But let's be honest, Nkunku was supposed to play that role, supposed to give us the numbers that Cole Palmer's given us, supposed to be that guy for our club. And I think with football teams, when you've got that mercurial talent, which Cole Palmer is, he's one of the best players in the league, you need to supplement that with a striker who's also providing goals. We're over-reliant on Cole Palmer to get us goals. When Eden Hazard was that person for Chelsea, that mercurial talent, he was supplemented. When we're winning league titles, it was supplemented by Diego Costa giving us 20 league goals a season. And when Costa left, we haven't won a league title since. There is no coincidence in that. I think that when we need to, if we need to get to where we need to get to, or get to where we need to get to, it's off the back of a striker giving us regular goals on a regular basis. And unfortunately, Nkunku's not a striker. I know that Maresca quietened down the noise at the beginning of the season, saying, got 2 players for every position. And when he went through that, he listed Nkunku as a striker behind Nicholas Jackson. But he is not that, like Jay said. He is a number 10 that operates in similar positions to Cole Palmer. We need to address that issue, and I don't know how we go about it.
Just while you were talking there, I was thinking to myself, could you put Palmer up top and have Nkunku in behind? But then you're then
misprofiling Palmer.
You're then changing the system. Your best player, you're taking him out, and that doesn't feel right. And that's all I can come up with.
All I think he could do is revert to last season's Cole Palmer position, which is right wing, and you give that overlap, whether it be Gusto, whether it be Acheampong, or if Reece James is available, and you put Nkunku in the middle. I think the issue he has with that, I don't think he trusts Nkunku to press in the same intensity that Cole Palmer does. Because when you watch Cole Palmer off the ball, he often gets into the front two of Jackson and they press. And some of our best performances this season at home to Aston Villa in particular, the press was absolutely phenomenal. So even though I don't trust Nkunku to lead the press as the striker, you still need to be able to press in that 10. You still need to be able to be trusted defensively. And I don't think he trusts him off the ball. And that's no surprise. He picked up a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. He's not probably physically able to compete in terms of that level of intensity without picking up another injury. But that leads to the point of where are we really going to use him? And for me, I still think there's a good player in there, but I think mentally he might be kind of on the way out as well, because he's got the World Cup not long away, and he's going to need to be playing regularly.
Yeah, so I've got to ask you then, Matisse, are we going to buy a striker in January? And who? Who, if we do, who?
I don't think we will, and purely because I think the club, the targets that they have, won't move in January. I think Liam Delap often gets flagged purely because obviously he tormented us. He bullied us completely. He bullied Tosin. He bullied Disasi. Obviously got the goal. It wasn't a penalty in my opinion. But he's another player that's former Manchester City. Joe Shields is aware of. Enzo Maresca has said he's worked with, and he's of that price range of maybe 30, 35 million if Ipswich were to go down. That seems to be the price range Chelsea are hovering around based on previous targets. So unless they get someone in on loan, there's been talk of Kolo Muani, he could be moving from PSG, Evan Ferguson from Brighton, again, a player that could be loaned out. Unless we get someone on a short term, I don't think Chelsea are going to change their summer plans, despite the fact that, for me, that striker position needs a lot of help right now.
Do you think we'll do business in January, Kwaku?
I think we will do business. I don't know if it's going to be to reinforce the front line. I think we are where we are right now. And if you ask Chelsea at the beginning of the season, what's the targets? To finish in the top 4. And so if we hadn't had such a strong start to the season, but we somehow got ourselves to this position, I think people would be very satisfied. It's the fact that the last 4 games have been so poor and other fans are trying to entice us to talk about title race. We knew it. We saw our team. We watched our team week in, week out. We knew the frailties and the faults within our lineup. But I didn't think we thought those frailties and faults were with the front line. I think we all thought that it was defensively that we need to reinforce and improve. It's only in recent weeks that that's reared its ugly head in terms of, is Nicholas Jackson really the guy who's going to lead us to Premier League titles? I think we will improve. And if there's an incredible offer on the table, there's an incredible player up for sale that we can maybe do business with, then we might approach it. We might explore that option. But for me, I feel like there's bigger issues in our team that we need to improve in January as opposed to improving or looking at that front line.
Jace, I've got to ask you then, January, looking at sort of the transfers, looking at the fact that we haven't had a backup striker. In fact, let's not even talk about January now. Let's talk about recruitment in general. We've actually praised recruitment a lot in this show. Do you think it's been good enough? And when you look at the midfield, you look at Caicedo, you look at Enzo Fernandez, they've been playing a lot of football recently.
Yeah.
They may be tired. We haven't got backups. What do you make of the recruitment
Well, the
now?
problem we've got in the middle of the park is also Lavia. Can't stay fit. He's another one of those at the moment. When he plays, his presence in that midfield allows Enzo to play higher up the pitch. We didn't play the inverted fullback at the weekend. You noticed that Cucurella stayed defensively solid. Right back stayed defensively solid. We never had the extra man in the middle of the park. When Lavia's there, it naturally forces Enzo on. Enzo was still making those runs. Because we have the inverted fullback, felt we were a little bit open in the middle of the park. Going back to your question, we spent a lot of money. Casadei hasn't quite done that. He's still very young. He's still very much learning. Kani Chukwuemeka, another player in there, hasn't really been given the chance. I'd like to see what this boy's got under the bonnet eventually. In terms of Enzo and Caicedo, they're playing a lot of minutes. They're playing a lot. And there will come a point, they won't play against Mork at the weekend, obviously, but there will come a point where you might have to think about what happens in there, the recruitment next summer. Yes, it's been good, but we're still a body short, and we spent a lot of money on this squad. I think players will leave in January. I think in the summer, there'll be players that will be sold, but that is an area really right down the spine of the team. Centre-back, centre midfield, and a centre forward. We are still 3 players away from having a really good squad. It's a good squad. When everyone's fit, when they're not fit, it gets stretched a bit, particularly in the middle of the park.
I'd add with that midfield, though, I think that's the one position I actually wouldn't buy again. I think there's enough quality in there with the likes of Andre Santos, if they were to be recalled from Strasbourg. Leslie Ogachukwu, I think, is a really good talent at Southampton. Obviously, we'll talk about Cassidy, who's potentially moving Dewsbury Hall. I think the fact that those two haven't been able to contribute in the Premier League is actually... it's part of the reason why we're in this position, because when you spend 35 million on Dewsbury Hall in the summer, and yes, it's PSR and, there's other deals that have probably been related to that, but that person has to be able to contribute because you have moved on Gallagher. You have basically, without doing so, literally banishing Chukwuemeka, but you're not using him. He's clearly out of the plans. You were trying to move him on the summer. The player that you bring in has got to be contributing, and he's not. So I think if Dewsbury Hall had even been a half-decent signing for Chelsea, then we wouldn't be in such a panic station, because those midfielders, they're going to burn out. And if, God forbid, one of them were to get injured, then we'd really be in a mess in that midfield right now.